I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Anything I put my head to do, I wanted to become like the best or just stand out in it basically. I'm always thinking, how can we make this better? How can we do more? How can we express ourselves more in such a way that it's not just doing, it's doing that can create impact. One thing I always say is, where you're going to is greater than where you currently are. You have to just make those sacrifices. If you don't make it now, you make it later. If you ever have to say yes to anything, make sure that the spirit of excellence is behind the results. Well. Some projects just come on your table and you just start the conversations and you just start to feel uneasy. Money without stress is better than money with stress. So you must always know what to pick and how to navigate your way. Because if you let go of that money with stress, a lot of times it's just like God testing you. Are you desperate or you're just depending on me? And if you can actually let go, I'm sure He will always provide another way. Life will always come with negative. It's just a given. And it's unfortunate that sometimes we elevate the negative much more than the positive. But it won't stop us from showing what is positive.
You mentioned before about living full and dying empty. I'd love to know at this stage currently, or thinking about also the future, what does dying empty look like for you?
So I think
welcome, Ariyo. It's an amazing exploit with Joshua Olaniyi.
I really appreciate you having me here.
Awesome. Great to have you. Yes, so I think a good place to even start would be that looking back through your career journey to this very point in time, if someone watches your life now, let's say as a movie, what would the opening scene look like?
I mean, that's a very hard question because I've lived a lot of lives. I think it would be something of, when I say Inception, something of that. The opening scene of Inception have that kind of look, because my life has gone this, and I think why that has happened is because God has been preparing me like for the things that I'm doing now. So I had to go through all of that to start experiencing what I'm experiencing now and where I'm going to.
Interesting way to put it. So we need to unpack. I'm sure there's a lot in that journey. And I know that you studied computer science in school, and then leaving school, you had to do design, doing film, and doing really cool stuff. So I'd love you to share a bit about that journey. What was it like? What were some of those ups, those downs, and what led you to doing computer science and to you now exploring all of these different expressions?
All right, beautiful. So I started out wanting to do mechanical engineering because I grew up without my dad. I lost my dad at a very early age. Say I was 2 years old. So I always heard my dad is an engineer and stuff, and he did very well. So I always grew up wanting to be a mechanical engineer. So as time passed, I lived with a lot of uncles and aunties around me. They usually come to our house and just stay. My mom usually would have a lot of people around. So a lot of them are just naturally gifted in art. So I would watch them do art and stuff. So I started to fall in love with, art and design and all of that. And the more knowledge that I consumed, I began to realize it looks like I want to pursue design. So at some point in my secondary school, I did my secondary school in Abuja. The final years of my secondary school, GSS Piakasa, Abuja. And it was a science secondary school. But I knew I didn't want to pursue science afterwards. It was more of like a safety net. I was just like, once I'm done, I will just find the best school that has automobile engineering and just go and do it. But the more I was studying about automobile engineering, I'm like, no, I don't think I want to do the engineering part of it. I want to pursue the art part of it. Then I found vehicle exterior design. I'm like, yes, that is it for me. But that didn't happen. So I had to look for the closest thing that was close to design, and that was computer science. And I found myself in Babcock University. After trying to get into Covenant and that didn't happen, I found myself in Babcock University studying computer science, and it was such a beautiful journey. I remember, really loving coding and stuff. But after a while, your first love will always be calling you. So I just the tempo sort of reduced, and I still wanted design at the end of the day. But that hasn't still happened now, studying design. But I've found ways to express myself in various forms. I found out towards the end of school that I also love filmmaking because my friend Funke Oshobu, he'd bring his camera to school and we would just experiment with stuff. At some point, we helped create one of the most popular parody videos in our school then.
Wow.
It was a Pharrell Williams video about, I think his Happy video. So we did this parody video with a lot of other creatives in school. So we ended up making one of the most viral parody videos by Pharrell Williams. It was his song called Happy. So we came together with one of our mentors back then in school, Mr. Henry Eguari. He brought us together and said, "Oh, we'd love to, express our own way, for that music." And we actually came together, and it was such a beautiful experience. It was from, that cohort of people that I met, a lot of people that I even currently work with, and I've been able to create with over time, like Fola Stag. Yeah, that was one of the places that cemented our relationship, So that's happened, and we finished, and I just began to love film, more. I started out taking pictures, and I would do documentary photography. I would attend classes, just photograph daily life in Lagos, because I feel like, not like I didn't like narrative or things that were overly framed. I just felt like just observing people could tell you so much about life. So I pursued that path and wanted to be, because anything I put my head to do, I wanted to become like the best or just stand out in it, basically. So I thought, I'll end up being like one of the biggest documentary photographers and stuff. That was a beautiful, episode in my journey as well. After a while, I knew I wanted more. I wanted to see these images move. Then I decided, okay, I will make it move. So I started to document daily life. So when I would go, I still run an apparel business. So whenever I go to the market to source for materials, I'll just take pictures, do videos, put it together, put it on Instagram, write something, just kept myself active. And over time, the skill grew and grew until I met up with Fola Stag, and we decided, we didn't verbally state it out, but we just knew there was something that we needed to create, and that was, he is an amazing food product and lifestyle photographer, and I have the video skills as well, and I always grew up around food. Food is something that I've always loved. It's just, when my mom is cooking in the kitchen, I'm always there. So I loved the kitchen.
You're not the kid that they will have to shout to call you to the kitchen.
I'm the one who is asking questions in the kitchen. Okay, so what did you put? I'm not even asking how long did it take you to put it. Okay. What did you put? Okay.
Nice.
When I go, I cook and stuff. So I've always grown up around the kitchen. So it was easy to, form the relationship for Fola Stag, and that was how we started to, do business together, do creative stuff together, and yeah, that's where it has led me to now.
That's a very beautiful and interesting journey. Talking about your business relationship and friendship with Fola Stag, right? How has the journey been like, and how important is collaboration and not trying to go through building alone, right? And how has your friendship just evolved even while doing business together?
So I think there's this popular saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with people, and not just anybody. You need to go with people that you're led to. Like it shouldn't be just something out of vibe. You just want to just go and
just do stuff.
There has to be both physical and spiritual confirmations of how you move. When you're hearing from God in your individual daily life, it will just help you pattern out who to go to, who not to go to. And God is so kind, because if we develop a relationship with Him and all of that, He just finds a way to always communicate to us what is good for us, what is bad, what is too soon, or what is too late. Exactly. So if somebody is coming to you to have a conversation, blah, 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 maybe they want to become friends, you're feeling that vibe already, and you take it to God, He will answer you. He will tell you, oh, don't, or not yet, or this might be what will happen later. So you can start now, but just be careful. And I think it's the same thing with myself and Fola Stag. I just knew it was a new phase of my life that was about to start. And I clicked into it, and we just we didn't have like a formal conversation. It's just something that just divinely happened, and we just started to build together, and it's been like a beautiful journey, so far. He does amazing food photography, lifestyle photography. I do amazing food and product videos, and we just found a way to, connect our skills and saw that it could take us farther than just one person, going. That's the beauty of collaboration, the right collaboration.
Yeah, because some other collaborations can just lead you in the wrong path, while some can help you achieve much more.
Also, when anybody is entering into any collaboration, you should have your own values, grounded, so that you're not swayed, with life happening and anything happening. You just know that this is where I'm going to, this is where we're going to. That aligns, so that because I've heard like serious people, people come together to do stuff, and all of a sudden something happens later and they break off in a bad way. Breaking off is not a bad thing, because these things are seasons in our lives, People would go through a particular season, and it might be time to separate and do something else. But when you have good collaboration and it is time to move on, you move on peacefully, because there's just been that you listening to the spirit in your head and just knowing when to move and when not to move.
And then in the future, even you can still come back and collaborate, and not that you splitted in a way that you don't even want to see each other again.
Exactly.
Interesting. You've always been describing yourself as a doer or visionary creator.
Yeah.
So in a space or in a season where a lot of maybe Nigerians or even Africans are consuming a lot, what does like doing really mean to you?
So I think,
hi there, I know you're enjoying this episode, but we need you to do something. Please double check if you've subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, click on the subscribe button, like, share, and most importantly, leave a comment. Tell us what you found very insightful, very valuable from this episode so far, or by the time you complete the entire video. Please do that right now. That is one way that it can help us to continue to keep the lights on. Please do that. You can get right back into the video.
I'll start by how that name, came about. I think I can't remember the exact season of my life that I came up with that very name, but I know it was influenced by Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I can't remember what I was going through in that period, but I think it was a way of reaffirming what God was about to do in my life. And I just needed something that could just keep me going. And I found out that I've always been someone that was action oriented. Like if something happens now, I'm not the one to panic first. I'm always thinking about solutions. Like what's the next thing to do? And that's how I see, creation or even content or whatever space I find myself. I'm always thinking, okay, how can we make this better? How can we do more? How can we express ourselves more in such a way that it's not just doing, it's doing that can create impact. You understand? Right. So with the African creative economy, Nigeria, and all, there's so much need for us to do more, because I think there was a time in our, I'll use the music landscape, for example. There was a time in our era, in the music era, where Nigerian music wasn't being played in radio stations or in TV stations.
Mostly the West.
Exactly. Then some people took it upon themselves that they were going to create radio stations and they were going to sponsor music artists who were going to make Nigerian songs that could meet up, at least national standard before they, transport it globally. And that birthed people like maybe Two-Face and the likes, and those people came up and they started to do stuff that, could, that we could transport into the world. And I think that has also segued into the creative economy that we have now, content creation, people into film and stuff. A lot of people don't know they've been somehow influenced in subtle ways by those things that have happened. They think when something happens, people always see it as happening independently. But if you trace it back, you have somehow been influenced by something that's happened in your past, whether you know it or whether you don't know it, that has sort of
whether you want to acknowledge or not.
Exactly, something has inspired what you're doing now. Just for example, when I used to go into the kitchen to watch my mom cook, and she would call, we'll go to the market together, we'll come back, we'll go to the kitchen, cook. I didn't know I was going to end up filming recipe films and creating for food brands and all of that. But if I didn't track my history or know where I'm coming from, I would have just thought, I'm done, I just started it. But something has informed the doing that I'm able to, do now. So I think it's so important that we view ourselves first as creators before consuming, because if we're always consuming stuff, consuming content, and it's not a bad thing, but when it becomes the first thing that we do, it means that we're dampening the creativity that God has already put in us, to
make things and build platform.
Yes.
I think that's like very, very important for us to like always think through and say, okay, what is the new thing or the new improvement? We might not, the West might have gone way ahead of us in terms of certain things they have, influence, resources, but when we get it, we can also build our own, or whatever they have, we try and look at it, how can we adapt it to local context and really make something out of it. Talking about our storytelling, telling our stories as a country, maybe in Nigeria, Africa, the narrative that is out there, maybe of recent, or even for the longest time, has always not been great. There are places that where if they say talk about Africa, they just think about maybe you have monkeys walking on the road, or you have chimpanzees, you have kangaroos, exactly. But we still have like amazing stuff, people doing great things. So that narrative that we need to really, if that narrative is broken, what are the things that we need to do as a country or even as creators to shape this narrative to who we exactly are and what is exactly possible for us?
So aside traveling and showing people more, I like what a lot of people have done in the past. People like Tayo, I know, people like my friend Nike, people like Toke, they've traveled around Nigeria and shown the beautiful parts, or sometimes not the most beautiful, because no country is actually, perfect. People just need to experience wherever it is that they live more. I know what we're talking about like seeing the positive in things. Life will always come with negative. It's just a given. And it's unfortunate that sometimes we elevate the negative much more than the positive. But it won't stop us from showing what is positive, whether it's through creating travel videos or through highlighting entrepreneurs in places that are creating solutions. I think there was an entrepreneur a while ago in Ibadan also that created a means of payment through WhatsApp. Those are just ingenious things, like you said, carrying what is already available from the West and adapting it to what what we have here, or how can it work here.
Yeah, that's like something that we really need to continue to do, continue to tell our stories. There'll be the negative parts and the positive, but still, there are still the positive sides, no matter what, right? Tell those stories and continue to feed on those areas that are doing very well for them to keep growing. Building a media company currently, I know you're already in the media space, you're building, you work for brands personally, and then in your partnership and business relationship with other friends and other creatives. So what has the journey been like building your own media company or even working for brands? And how did you navigate getting your first set of clients? And maybe your biggest client so far?
Okay. I think how that all would have started, I don't think there's like a very particular way it started. I think I would like to summarize it by saying it started off as just having the right relationships. Basically, you just are valuable to some people and they get into some rooms and they realize this opportunity that they're talking about, this person can do it. And they call you and you come and you deliver. And that sort of creates a ripple effect in like how you eventually begin to move, in this space. And I think that's what has happened for me personally, because I think one brand that I always like to talk about when I have the opportunity to is Kellogg's. We had a friend who was working in one of the rooms, like for example, that a project was being discussed, and she saw we could deliver and called us. If we were not able to deliver, if we were not valuable in that way, she would have looked for somebody else. She saw we could deliver and she called us, and they loved our work. And, that sort of just puts you in the mindset of every other person in that space.
Yeah.
Oh, you did this for
this
please
brand.
Come and replicate the same thing for us. And you just keep, moving like that. Then when it comes to our biggest client so far, I think all of them would be on our MVP list, because every one of them has come with their own. You can't really do a comparison because they are in different industries, So all of them, I would say, all the brands we've worked for across food and drinks have been very special to us. And we'll hang them on the wall and say MVPs, all of them.
And mostly from maybe referral, somebody saying these people can do this.
Exactly. And it always stems from relationship, really, because if somebody has experienced it, whether online or offline, in a bad way, it's hard for them to be able to talk about you in rooms, unless God just intercept your matter and just like, I need this
brings
person
your pictures to get this thing.
Exactly.
I think it just reiterates the power of relationships and doing good work, irrespective of the immediate pay or how big the client even
no matter
looks
how
like.
Small.
Yeah, just like do it. I think someone also said recently, you can never underestimate the power of a very good work.
Yes.
Just that thing that you did might seem little, the client might seem small. Once you did very well, they'll just remind you, just rings a bell that, oh, this person has done this. Once I have a similar opportunity, I can count on them that, oh, I think Ariyo has done this. I can refer them to do much more bigger projects.
Exactly. And if you say yes to a thing, whether it's for free or not, as long as you've opened your mouth to say yes, you must deliver 100%. It doesn't matter if they are paying you thousands of dollars or 5 naira. Once you say yes, because nobody will want, when they see that work, nobody will ask you, so how much did they pay you? Oh, no wonder I did not do it well. You just put your name behind it, or they ask and they say you did it, and they say, it doesn't look like what they will do. You paint yourself black at the end of the day. So if you ever have to say yes to anything, you make sure that the spirit of excellence is behind the results.
When you get an idea, whether say for a brand, maybe for a project or for an ad, what is your process like for moving from just a simple idea to building a story or telling it in a way that is is emotionally powerful? Okay,
so one of the first things I always do is ask a lot of questions. I always, even up to the point of being annoying, because you want to make sure you get exactly what is in the client's brain,
like what they have in mind,
what they vision. Because some clients don't know how to visualize something. So you want to make sure you're asking all the right questions so that you're also painting the picture for them on this side, so that as they're answering the question, you're painting the picture. They're answering, you're painting, they're answering, you're painting. So when you now present it to them, they're like, oh, okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm asking them for reference videos, because a lot of them are inspired by what they watch. They're asking them, okay, so what did you see that you want to recreate and stuff? Not that you want to recreate that thing, but you just want to have an idea of where their mind is. So when we move from that stage and you have like the picture painted, then we now go into the financials of it. And from there, if the deal goes well, you now start running a storyboard. You want to now start reaching out to maybe a stylist, depending on the kind of production, props specialist, the team you want to work with. And most times, if you're opportune to, you can even visit the place maybe a day or two before, just to, there's something about a space. When you walk into a space and you see how it looks like, you already know, okay, this is where I'm going to be setting my lights. Okay, this is where I want the crew to sit down. Oh, this is where I want clients to be. So it sort of just gives you power over that space before the day of execution. And on the day of execution, you just knock it off the park by God's grace.
And then produce something really beautiful and valuable for the client. We talk a lot about like really great success stories, amazing time. have you had maybe worst experiences or just even any other random moment where you contemplated whether this is even the right path? Yes, you had wanted to do creative, really build stuff. Has there been any moment where you just said that I'm not exactly sure, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, a lot of times. And I would always refer back to this. Thank God for the Holy Spirit. Some projects just come on your table and you just start the conversations and you just start to feel uneasy about. It's not, you're not, even if you are in a very hot place and you're sweating, trust me, it's not that heat
It's not
that
that.
disturb you. Something else is definitely, around that project that you shouldn't jump on. I've spoken with a few people, maybe they want to do a project and they just start to mention some kind of things and you just know that this is going to give me headache. And you must just always know when to, step back. And it will hurt you because you've left money on the table. But money without stress is better than money with stress. So you must always know what to pick and how to, navigate your way. Because if you let go of that money with stress, definitely a lot of times it's just like God testing you. Are you desperate or you're just depending on me? And if you can actually let go, I'm sure He will always provide another way. So yeah.
Make a way. Interesting. Beautiful way to actually put it. Like you just get that nudge, that feeling that
yes.
I'm not sure that this is exactly for me. And when it's actually for you too, you just know that no matter how technical, how difficult it looks like, this is for me. I can go after it and then be able to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting stuff. In moments like from the economy can be really tough when, sometimes how they'll say, sometimes you need to do passion projects. Those passion projects that even eventually bring the very big clients, or you need to stay on purpose, do stuff, not just because of the money. But when you now look at the economy and all of that, how do you even stay consistent in a place where, or in a maybe not just country, or in a season where to do meaningful work and you still want to survive? How do you manage that balance of, okay, I want to do meaningful work, I want to fulfill purpose, but still I still also need to survive?
In a country like Nigeria where a lot of things are not appreciated in quotes, you will be hungry a lot, and you'll be stressed a lot. You would probably overthink a lot. You might be anxious a lot too, but you would always know that where you're going to is greater than where you currently are. So you have to just make those sacrifices. If you don't make it now, you make it later. One thing I always say is, after every project, you should try and keep some funds aside from that project that you can use to create passion projects. Because I realized from the days of my documentary photography and all of that, I've always just loved creating stuff that I know that I'm very passionate about. And it's almost like a field of practice for me, because it just helps you practice. Take, for example, I think the perfect example was my 5 minutes Eco Lagos documentary that I did in 2019. It was a passion project. I just wanted to push myself far. And I remember finishing the documentary and I needed music. And I found this really nice song online that by some reggae group that came to Lagos one time and sang about Lagos. And it was so good. It was so fantastic. I was like, a normal person would just like, this part too far. Nah, I found their email, reached out to them. Apparently, they were still performers around the world. And they told me that, unfortunately, they can't give me permission to use the song. So like, okay, no problem. I mean, I pushed myself that far. Then I saw some archival footages on YouTube. I found the Oyibo that shot it. Apparently, her grandfather or somebody shot that. So I got permission and I used it in my film. So when you do those kind of passion projects and it pushes you that far, even at the time where we finished it, I decided I was going to submit it to festivals abroad. Before that time, I didn't know what were festivals abroad. And it got into, I think, over 5 festivals. San Francisco, Peckham Film Festival, and a lot of other film festivals abroad. And that sort of gave me joy. And now that I'm even working on a documentary, a feature-length documentary, I already have momentum. I have, how would I put it now? I have morale. that I've
from something that you have done before.
So I'm not scared. I'm not. I mean, you can be scared sometimes because obviously the vision is bigger. But you just know that you've done it before. You can do it again. And if God saw you through the first one, you're definitely going to, blaze through this next one. Passion projects are so important. It helps build you.
And then you're able to build capacity, you're able to learn new things, even though you don't have you're not really answering resources, or you're not even answering to client that will say it has to be this way. No, you are going all the way with all of the creative juice that you've got to really build something. So I want you to touch about even pushing out your project film. There'll be a lot of people that might watch this video that maybe they are working on a documentary or a short film that they want to send to some of all these places that you just talked about. Is there a certain process that people can take? Is there a quality that your video can always has to be for you to get to some of these places?
So I think there's something a lot of people usually would say is create with what you have, start with what you have. So it doesn't matter what you're creating. If you have something that was shot with a phone, I shot that with a phone, my first camera that was gifted to me, a Nikon D5100. And I think at some point I used one of my friend's camera, Funkwe, to shoot that documentary. And I was not looking at, it has to be this certain level. I mean, I had a spirit of excellence, but I was not exposed to a lot of things that I'm exposed to now. But I made sure that it reached the height of where my mind was at the moment. And I put it together, it looked good. And I just sent it off. And one of the places that a lot of filmmakers use is Film Freeway. So when you go to Film Freeway, you just create a profile, upload your project, whether you shot it with a phone or a camera or whatever it is. There are lots of free film festivals you don't have to pay money for. So I always tell people, test yourself, put it in those free festivals and see how far it goes. I mean, I submitted to maybe almost like 50, 60 film festivals and probably got like 10 that accepted it. So when you go to the profile, you see X, and you see some green, then you smile but you just have to do it. You just have to, you will not depend on the fact that, until I'm able to reach a certain quality. But if you're submitting, take for example, you want to go to Netflix, they have certain requirements. The lowest camera I think you can shoot a Netflix documentary or film is the FX3. So you must make sure at least you're shooting with an FX3. I mean, a miracle can happen and you're shooting with a lower camera and they accept, but their rule is that you must have an FX3 film ready and stuff and upward. So Film Freeway is one of the major sites that I used and that I will be using, in my film career.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I think something that also stood out for me from what you said is how you apply to 50 and then you get 10, which is a lot of people, or is a common saying to that is a lot of times it's a game of numbers. Because sometimes as young people or just people randomly, you want to try some things out. You try the first time, the second time, you get some rejection and you just want to back out. Whether you want to get a job or you want to get funding or you want to get something. But it's important to go as many times as possible, cast your bread on many waters. Some will eventually come, also might not come. Going because of 20, I think I'm tired. This thing is not for me. But the more you go, there are chances that you just get those 1, 2 that will be successful. And that forms a track record. And also, like, maybe it could be passion project or just do some things to just exercise your strength and creative juice. To also form a track record that I've done this, I was successful. Like the Bible say, that part of the Bible where was it David was like, you fought with this in the bush, beer and this, so this one show.
Small thing.
But if you just want to wake up one day and say you want to go after the lion, you're own.
In fact, I was watching a mini documentary recently about people who are climbing Mount Everest. And you cannot just wake up one morning and say you want to go and climb Everest. You have to go through training. I still want to do a research on what kind of training they go through. You have to go through training before you take on such feats, or else you just find yourself falling flat and dead on the trail. So it's so important that you do that practice so that when the opportunity comes, it's easy.
So in Nigeria, for example, we are very religious. I want to love to get your perspective, right? Because we've talked about the importance of work.
Yes.
And also there's a place of God. So sometimes people are not able to find a good balance of saying, okay, I need to put in the work. Some can just go to the extreme of prayers and not like, because you can't even pray for a socks. You can't pray to climb Mount Everest.
Yes.
By prayer alone. Like God, it's not as if God does not want to answer.
Yeah, are you Moses that
they just carry you and go up. No, you must like do the training.
Moses climbed himself.
So you must do the training, and then God can now help you and make it a successful work. So what's that fine balance of doing the work and trusting God?
I think anybody who would want to lean too much on one side is myopic, because you can't also just always depend on the work aspect. You also need like a spiritual life to create that balance. So I think the sweet spot is you being able to know when to work and when to pray, because it is in the place of prayer you know how to go about in the work. And if you're always just praying, you will never execute. You can never become a doer. You just always be someone that is always having the downloads. Every evening you call your friends, you get one idea, we go just give me now, like, so we go do this one, then you go back again, you kabash, you go, another idea don't show. So they might respect you the first 2-3 times, then later they start to wonder how far you don't reach like 5 ideas when you break up now.
And if the current situation of we are suffering, or
they will pursue you out of the group.
Let's look for something else.
Exactly. So I think anyone who wants to find that balance just has to, find a way to make sure that as much as they are praying, they are working. Because another thing I always say to my friends when I have the opportunity to is, as we're even climbing higher in society with your work, with your excellence and whatever it is, and visibility generally, there's a need for you to hold God more tight. And you're not holding God more tight at the expense of your work. You're holding him more tight so so that when you go into the marketplace, or when you go to work, or when you go to do anything, you know how to navigate that place. Because when I was coming here now, I had, as the driver was using his Google Map, I was using my own Google Map so that I'm sure that we're going so that it doesn't carry me somewhere else. So prayer is like your spiritual life basically is like your Google Map. It helps you navigate terrain that you're not familiar with. Like I told you, I've just been to this axis just once. So if I'm not with my spiritual life, there's no way I'll be able to navigate, those places. Because when they say God is omnipresent, he knows he's in everywhere. He's the Google map he knows all the locations. He knows this house. He knows that house. So if you hand over your daily workings, your daily doings, your daily work life to him, he's able to guide you. And the only way his power can be expressed is when you actually go and follow that direction that he has, guided you through.
Very, 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 very important. And once you just have that good balance, you just see God at work in your life. It shows you what you do, and you go there, you deliver with excellence. You're very big on faith.
Yes.
It shows from how you speak, how you operate. I also love to know how much has your faith and your work with God impacted your life entirely, maybe your career and even other areas.
I mean, it has not been the easiest journey, but the year that I decided I was going to, focus on God like fully, bro, it was hard, because you know how you're one leg in, one leg out. You grew up in the church, you know God very well, but you just, this life is sweet. You just want to just have some fun, and you just get to a point in your life where that's why it's good to always have those moments of retrospection where you just sit down and like, wait, make I look this my life. Is this how I really want to? If something happens now and I die, is this how I want to be, remembered? And I think when I got to that point in my life, I just realized that it's either I'm fully surrendered to God or I'm halfly doing it. And when I made that decision, I realized how much God decided to now entrust in my hand. So, and a lot of times we don't realize that our destiny is connected to a lot of people. If you're not out here doing this thing now, you won't have called me. And if you didn't call me, it means whoever is going to be watching this and be inspired will not be inspired. So you see, there's a chain of inspiration that is waiting to happen when we make a move. So it's so important. It was so important for me to, totally create that boundary between what I was seemingly enjoying, or having fun with, and just like really narrow it down to my faith. I mean, not at the expense of doing excellent work. You understand? It was already in me. So it's just now, how do I even refine that to even be better than I've ever been? And I'd say my journey has been beautiful, and thank God for God's grace so far.
Having God at that center and having Him like control all other aspects. For someone that wants to learn maybe filmmaking now, interestingly in Nigeria, we have schools, but still most people, maybe because of funds or because they've had to try different things, they really don't have, there's not like a clear which can be good, which can be great also. There are multiple paths. We can still get to the top through different ways. But what would still be your recommendation for someone that wants to learn filmmaking, storytelling, wants to level up their game, even in, maybe to also work for brands at some of the level that you guys are already working at?
So aside creating passion project for yourself, take for example, you want to, let me use the food space for example. You want to go into a food space. The best thing you can do is pick up some ingredients. If the most little dish you can learn how to do it. You can watch my videos or watch a lot of, there's thousands of creators on YouTube, on Instagram that do this thing. Watch their technique, watch their videos. When you watch people's videos over time, you see a pattern. You understand? Pick it, join this person's pattern, and create yours. As you're creating and you're putting it out there, I'm sure there will definitely, people are always watching. You never can. It might be your schoolmate self that's with you. Guy, this is what they do. They're nice, and he doesn't pay attention. And one day he finds himself working in Indomie, and he remembers that.
I have a friend that does.
They do Indomie video one time. I call him, and I've seen that play out in my life a lot of times. So you just have to, either you start with passion projects or find people you can shadow them. Say maybe you reach out to somebody and be like, "Oh, I'd like to be on your set." You understand? But you also need to know that a lot of people already have
those kind of
exactly, or even those kind of people already. So if you get a no, you shouldn't be angry and be like,
get a no response.
I'll see you. I'll meet at the top. It's just life, because and I, even for people who are even in those spaces, it's always good to know how you even respond to people that are below you, because God has a very funny sense of humor. The person that you spoke to anyhow today, later tomorrow now, you probably be asking them for a favor or something. But just treat people right. That's by the side. So passion projects, shadowing people, and sleep on YouTube. Like, buy the data, sleep on YouTube. If your neighbor, this is sort of illegal, but if you have somebody close to your environment that has free Wi-Fi and you can talk to them, please, I want just be watching YouTube tutorials in the evening. I don't mind staying outside your house. I don't need to come inside. Watch stuff. Watch a lot of stuff. One thing that has really helped my mind and my being basically is just being able to consume a lot of things that are even outside the space that I operate in. I can be watching a documentary about like cheers, how cheers were made, how food is grown in Indonesia, stuff like that. If you're not able to travel to those places or able to emulate those things immediately, it sort of just expands your mind. So sleep on YouTube, create passion projects, and find people you can, watch them on their sets. It would really open your mind into how to get to that industry and the things to do. Because if you're on somebody's set and they allow you to ask questions, you can say, so how did you get here? The person is answering. You just know, okay, this is how to do it. Or even you can even hear them talking with their colleagues. Yeah. Oh, this client do this one. So that when you even get to that space, you know how to
they
navigate
approach
exactly
that particular situation.
Yeah.
I think that's something that is very valuable for people that might just want to grow, or they just feel maybe somehow stuck at their current phase. You just need to go out and try and do something.
Yes.
Whether passion project, just start something. There's just the power of, because you have done something before. Yes. He has already built a foundation.
Yes.
Because you can't just reach out to maybe one very top end creator, because that's something a lot of people dream for. I want to work with this guy. He has a following, he's big, but they also have a lot of people asking them like that. They can't even say yes to everybody. Yes. So, but then if you now come different, this is what I've done. Once they see that, you have value or potential, they'll just be able to bring you in. So you mentioned before about living full and dying empty. Yeah. So I would love to know at this stage currently, or thinking about also the future, what does dying empty look like for you?
So I grew up with a lot of skills, you know, and
I saw you started doing music recently.
yeah, I'm going to start with that. When I started knowing myself, I found myself in like various choirs. My mom sings, so I was in almost all the choirs my mom was in, except the one before I was born, obviously. I sang with her. She'll be the choir mistress. Me and my sister will be in the choir. So because we traveled a lot, so wherever we moved to, would attend the church, she would become choir mistress. Me and my sister would be in the choir. And it was not a thing of, because your mom is this person. We auditioned and passed and actually joined choir. So I've always had music at the background of my life. So I always like to see myself as someone that has great ear for good music or good sound. You understand? So aside that, I grew up seeing my uncles draw a lot, and I found out I could draw. I think one of the first things that I can remember drawing was this book of Bible stories. I'll just replicate the drawings and stuff. So I knew I could draw. And film came, design came along the line, and I just knew God didn't just give me these things to just keep for myself and just, hold it. So I'm always looking for ways to, how can I use this skill I have to inspire somebody else to move? Maybe they are not able to access or watch somebody in that industry that is so big or even understands the person's process. But if I have that skill, I can actually start it. And hopefully this person is able to watch me, grow and see what I become in that space. And because I don't want to believe for people like myself that are like, I will not say multi-talent, multidisciplinary. Like we have a lot of expressions. When you see people like Kanye being able to navigate spaces like design, music, and he's doing it so effortlessly, even entrepreneurship, the deals that he's able to sign.
Yeah, this guy that is late now, I've forgotten his name.
Yeah, Virgil Abloh.
Yes.
Exactly. When you see how those people navigate those spaces.
Architecture, design, fashion.
And we may want to say, some of their ways are questionable and stuff, especially if you're coming from a spiritual point of view, but they did it. You that has the Spirit of God in you, what have you done? What have you done? So we need more people to stand up and show that it's possible to actually navigate these spaces and actually be so good at it. You might start from scratch and not be so good, but if you're able to, be consistent and stuff, you'd eventually die empty. And I think that's how I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered as someone that gave his all in everything that I put my hands to do, everything that I said yes to, whether it's a relationship, whether it's music, like I'm currently, expressing now. I want to make sure that I milked everything out. That when I go back home, I'm like this, and God is like, well done, my faithful servant.
You used everything that I give to you.
Exactly.
Because even that part of the Bible that to him, like the ones that more were given, that used it well, and those that even I gave you like 10 talents because you used it well, I'll give you more. But you that maybe you think you have small, but you did not use it well. See that one that you won't have, we're going to take it and
I think I should even create another example from what you just said now about God giving you small, you're able to use it and He gives you more. In I can't remember what exact date now, maybe 2017 or 16, I came up with an idea where my clothing brand, I decided I wanted to use it to, how do I put it now? I wanted people to be encouraged wearing the shirt. So our tagline was, you're beautifully and wonderfully made. I think that's Psalm 119 verse 13 or so. And it became the face of the brand. And then I went back to pray and just ask God, and He would just say, okay, I think you can start something called I Make Mad Sense. And I Make Mad Sense at the time was an interpretation for me of Psalm 119. That's, you are beautiful and wonderfully made. But if you interpret it in pidgin, I make mad sense, that kind of thing. So it became like a movement that I started, and we started with no resources, and we'd call people like this and just interview them about like their self-esteem journey. And they'll tell us, oh, then they now tell us how they were able to overcome it. And we're doing that with almost no budget, with friends helping here and there. And I saw that the journey of that is what has bettered a lot of the things that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're just talking about doing passion project. Those are one of the passion projects that has bettered even the documentary that I'm currently working on, because I've been there before. I've spoken with people. I've managed the little that God has given me. So it's able to now give me even more responsibility. Exactly. So yeah.
Still in the line of doing cool stuff and great exploit and navigating spaces. When are we getting the Crocs and Ariyo brand partnership?
So I should express myself a bit, tell a little backstory.
Yeah.
That was actually supposed to happen, but for some reason, with the global team and all of that, it just didn't happen. I think they had some issues with Africa, blah blah blah, and it just didn't happen. That design was actually created as far back as 2022.
Wow.
So it was already in the works of actually, happening.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it just didn't happen. And I felt there's no need keeping it since it didn't happen. And I just had to
put it out there.
Put it out there. And I mean, hopefully another brand, that is in that industry sees it and we can create something beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of even just still creating and putting it out there. Yeah. That one might not have worked as we wanted, but like just as we had
in front of another
it sounds like it's also like a seed.
Yes.
You've done that already. If someone comes like, oh, Ariyo, I want you to work on this kind of project. I've done something like this before, and you're able to like really build from it. So like in wrapping up, we've had such an interesting and insightful conversation. What should we be expecting? What does the future look like for you, for your brand, Ariyo brand, whether in terms of design, filmmaking, or even like industrial productions? Okay, so
at the moment we're working on a documentary. This is the first time I'm actually going to be saying it publicly.
Lovely.
It's a documentary that's showcasing what God is doing with the youth in the Christian space, alternative urban Christian music space, and the other people that are attached to them. Because one thing I've come to realize is that music is very powerful, and it helps to shape cultures. There was a time when rock was the thing, and you see people dressing like the musicians. There was a time when hip hop was the thing, rapping and stuff, and you see people dressing like the. So music has always been something that has shaped cultures. So for working on a documentary that is sort of chronicling the Afro gospel space. So we're telling our own side of the story of the creatives that are currently operating in that space, and what they're currently doing, how God is using them. That's the most important thing. So that's one of the major things that we're working on, and hopefully when the time is right, it would be out there for people to be inspired and
awesome. So we look forward to when it's going to really be out for everyone to actually watch. Like I said, it on Amazing Experts first. Yeah, cool stuff. In finally wrapping up, is there anything you still love to say to anyone maybe currently watching? Something you love to leave them with?
I think it would be to keep doing. Yeah. Keep doing, but don't just do with vibes. Do with intention. And the only way you can do with intention is to go back to the place of prayer. Ask God, how far? I like this thing. How do I go about it? And if you listen very well, He would actually guide you. And if you even say, oh, you can't hear, tell Him to speak through somebody, a mentor, a parent, or anybody, and you'd hear them. Word. Yes. So if the more you dwell, the more you're able to receive. So yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a very beautiful way to wrap up this very episode. Very insightful, and also very instructive too. And I trust that our listeners, whether on Spotify or maybe YouTube, when you are watching this particular episode, you have picked on one or two things that you can execute with just to make you an amazing expert, bigger, better, and even come faster. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the conversation. Thank you guys. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.
Thank you.